Hello everyone, welcome to a new build guide. Turbo Vengeance has now evolved into Turbo Multistrike. The reasoning behind this is that Vengeance got really severe nerfs and Launch got completely reworked, and I don't think it's a viable option anymore for the playstyle we used to have with it. And I think Multistrike is basically like a way more heavy hitting, huge AoE, but way more squishier version that what Turbo Vengeance was. So I guess it's Turbo Multistrike now. Again, I'm gonna do some waves in Arena so you see the gameplay. The build still relies about the same skills. Nothing has really changed when it comes to Volatile Reversal, Devouring Orb, and Anomaly, but we have replaced Multistrike, Vengeance with Multistrike. Let's show a bit of the gameplay. Ancient Arena, my least favorite one. This patch 8.3 has huge balance changes. It has included these new mobs from Act 9 that are pretty nasty. They're pretty unbalanced at the moment in endgame, so it's really hard to judge what builds are like good and what builds are not good. But I've already pushed this build to more than 300 waves, and I've reached like basically like top 5 in the ladder. Like I think I'm top 2 at the moment. So the build's still viable, but it's gonna be way more expensive to build than before. You're gonna be way more squishier than before, and you're gonna need to be way better at the game than before to play it pretty much. The build's still viable, but keep that in mind. This is not a beginner friendly build whatsoever. Again, Multistrike, as you can see, has like pretty crazy AoE, really good damage if you get the good gear for it, and overall it's a pretty fun skill. Basically how this ability works is you first perform a melee attack, and depending on how many stacks of armament you have, you're gonna create extra attacks to nearby enemies. And so you need to keep in mind that when I go and hit the dummy, some of the effects are not gonna proc, because you need a nearby enemy in order for the effects to proc, so keep that in mind. But anyway, the gameplay hasn't changed much from Turbo Vengeance. You play around Volatile Reversal and your mobility, and you use Launch Immunity in order to avoid all the damage that could actually do damage to you. Again, pretty straightforward this build. Again, this is Multistrike. It can do really big damage if you stack your Devouring Orb, or you stack all your armor shreds and stuff. You can do really big damage. And keep in mind that if you're gonna be proccing the extra procs by having nearby enemies, this damage is gonna basically triple or even quadruple in some cases. Alright, so keep that in mind. So the build is pretty straightforward. The Anomaly, Volatile Reversal hasn't changed at all. We use the low cooldown so we can stack the attack speed and the movement speed. So you can see when I use this ability, my attack speed and my movement speed go up, and you can double stack at even triple stack this buff if you do it properly, resetting your cooldown with kills. Right now you'd really want to get a +2 Volatile Reversal into your gear, but I don't have it yet because the patch just dropped, so you can take this so you can get more single target damage. This would be pretty massive for single target. Launch has completely changed, but basically you can build this basically however you want. I think the mandatory parts are getting the invulnerability, getting the extra charge, and building for cooldown so you can keep the mobility. And then you can do whatever you want with the remaining points. These points are pretty good, which heal you, but I'm opting for having the kill threshold since I'm not grabbing the kill threshold on the Void Knight passive anymore. But you can put these points whenever you want, whatever you want, to be honest. Again, nothing has changed for the Devouring Orb. We just cap our Void Resistance, get our Abyssal Emission so we can proc Slow, Chill, Armor Shred, Void Shred, Physical Shred, and Kite enemies. And we get the movement speed so we can move around really fast. Some cast speed and mana efficiency, so it's a bit smoother to use. An anomaly, not much changes. We still get as much leech as possible, as much cooldown as possible, and the remaining points we put on the crit chance right here in the bottom. You can't see, but you have to believe me. So we can get as closer as possible to 100% crit chance with our multi-strike. Again, this used to be Vengeance. Vengeance is pretty bad right now, so now we use multi-strike. So what are we doing with multi-strike? The first thing you wanna do is you wanna grab these jousting spears. What this does is, like, normally when you hit an enemy with multi-strike, if there's a nearby enemy, like there would be a sword that would bounce to the next enemy nearby. But if you grab the spears, which is what you saw in the gameplay, this, instead of having a sword, you would have like a spear. And if you line up the enemies properly, and imagine this is an enemy and this is your main enemy, like the spears will pierce going into this enemy, and you can basically like shotgun choke points, and you can get insane damage when enemies are grouped up. So I think this point is really good just for AoE. Then you want to grab the additional swords. This makes it so at even when you engage with 0 stacks, you can see we're getting the stacks here, you will still have some bounces. This is good for engaging on groups when you're out of combat. Highly recommend this. The armor is pretty nice, so you can reach close to 3000 armor while you're in combat. With good gear, with better gear than mine, you're gonna reach even more. I think when I also have this idol here that gives me a shit ton of armor when I'm fighting rares, and when I'm in combat, I can reach up to 6000 armor at the moment with all my buffs, because I do have some armor on kill and so on in the passive tree. Then you want to grab the base crit chance. Again, this is really nice over Vengeance, especially since Lunge no longer gives crit chance. Really nice, really necessary. Otherwise, it's really tough to get crit chance on a Sentinel right now. So really nice. If I get a plus multi-strike, I'm gonna put 1 point here and 1 point here for the initial strike damage and for the base crit chance. This is pretty insane. When you get armor, you get damage. This is 100% damage multiplier, and as I said, when I'm in combat, I get up to 6000 armor. So I'm always up 3000 armor. Obviously, if you don't have this much armor on your character, don't put as many points, right? You want to probably take points out. If you only have 1000 armor, just put 1 point or 2 points, so this number is fits to your gear. Then you want to grab basically all the damage at max stacks. Basically, as soon as you have 2 stacks, you're gonna be benefiting from this extra damage. You have other options that I have played around a bit. I played around with the axes, which makes it so, but it just makes the attack really slow and really clunky, even though you actually do more damage. But I think it makes the build way more clunky to play. And I also played with the additional swords and with the maximum stacks, and this makes it so you have way more AoE. But to be honest, the build has so much AoE that I much rather build into my single target, which are these nodes here. And even my survivability would be a good option. You can play this build with block if you decide to do so. I would replace Orb with sigils to get the block chance, and I would put more points into block effectiveness to make sure that I'm maximizing my block. This ability is pretty crazy. The AoE you can get is pretty insane, and again, it's actually really fun. It might be a bit too much, in my opinion, for a melee skill. For the passives, we grab the strength and the protections, we grab our vitality, armor clad, of course, we want the cooldown reduction for our lunge, we want the mana back so we can sustain our buffs, forge guard, we just grab some strength that we have lean over. You want to put as much points in elemental resistance as you need. Right now I need 3 points because of my gear. If I get a bit better gear, I would drop these points and I put them into strength. And then for Void Knight, you get your protections, your health, your leech, your damage, your strength, your crit multi, your damage to access the 100% more increased void damage, the vitality and increased health. This is really nice. This patch, this is insane. I think there's not a single Void Knight build that doesn't want these points. These are one of the best points in the entire Sentinel tree. Next to Reverence of Duality. 100% grab these points. And then, since Multistrike is really fast, we can afford grabbing the extra Echo chance for a total Echo chance of 40% because they nerfed the base 20. So now we only have 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, 40. That's pretty much the passives. Pretty straightforward, not much has changed. When it comes to gear, my gear is really insane, so keep that in mind, okay? I'll have a gear planner and stuff. The main importance thing is you wanna have a Sofnia with void damage if you want. Make sure you have chill and armor shred. You wanna fit Aurora's time glass if you can, and if you have good gear. I will show in a second why. And then you just want to stack armor, health, HP. I have some really insane gear, like this belt is 600 HP, really good stuff. Get some crit chance, get some strength. Get Siphon of Anguish for the Doom. Right now I'm using it. I'm using one that has very low Doom chance, but I need the elemental resistance. I'm using it. And for idols, you wanna get a Throne of Ambition. You can farm this on Ryath on Argentus in the Monolith of Fate, and then you get these idols that give increased melee damage for 4 seconds when a skill echoes. Your skills are gonna be echoing all the time, so you're gonna get you can see you get there the bonus damage when a skill echoes. Right, you have a total of 300 increased damage, and you also get armor shred on melee hit. And then you grab these idols so you can cap your resistances. I'll show a bit what I mentioned about Auroras. I mentioned that Auroras is a really good item, so I'll show really quick why. Let's go do a map real quick. I'll just do a normal monolith, just so you guys can see. Currently 8.3 is, like I said, the monsters are super crazy, especially if you're doing high corruption or high arena. Basically this amulet that I mentioned, I think it has become mandatory pretty much. But I show what the item does. Basically, when you take damage, we actually take damage. Eventually we're gonna take damage. This is just regular level 50 content, whatever. As you will see when I drop at my health bar, you will see what's gonna happen. I get healed there. That's the amulet. So basically this amulet gives you 2 HP bars, pretty much. So when you go in, like a kamikaze, and maybe you get hit by something that is a bit too much, you have that extra level of safety. This basically doubles your EHP as long as you don't get one shot. And this is if you hit rares, you're gonna be stacking armor. It's really nice. Really fun build. Have fun playing it. And yeah. Again, a bit sad that we can no longer call the build Turbo Vengeance. But now we have Turbo Multistrike. I hope you guys enjoy it. And I see you on the next one. Bye bye.